David Johnston.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to speak in this debate. In fact, I think there's been very thoughtful contributions on both sides, particularly my right honourable friend, the Chair of the Justice Select Committee and the member for Belfast East as well. I grew up in East London and felt the windows shake when the Canary Wharf bomb went off in 1996. Now, that was not the first terrorist attack that had happened in my lifetime, but it's the one I remember feeling most vividly a proximity to. And unfortunately, there have been quite a number since that time that I have watched on the TV screens, like all of us, in horror, recognising places that I've been many times before. The Fishmongers Hall one was about 3 minutes from where my office was at the time, and felt I could have been there at that time. I think we have all experienced the feeling of being somewhere in the days after that and wondering if there might be another attack, being on a tube or a bus after those attacks, being at a crowded event after the Manchester Arena attack. Now, when the stories fade from the headlines in the media, they can fade from being uppermost in our minds. But for the people who lose someone in one of those attacks, their lives change forever. And they are in my thoughts as I rise to speak in support of this bill today. I welcome the minimum sentence of 14 years for the most serious of terrorist offences, which in the end is what we are talking about, and ending the prospect of early release. I think it's right that TPIM should be able to go on longer than 2 years if we know at the end of those 2 years that person is still, or we believe that person is still dangerous. And of course that should be subject to the right safeguards and be renewed. And I've heard in this House today an important debate about lowering the standard of proof, whether we should do that and how we should do that. And I think there are answers for my colleagues to provide on that still. But I also welcome the ability to apply for serious crime prevention orders when it comes to these offences. I think it's hugely important that we monitor and we disrupt the actions of those who we feel may be doing us harm. Now, of course, we should continue our efforts at de-radicalisation. It's absolutely right that we should do that. We should put more money into that. We should keep refining our approach to that. But I think it's fair to say this is not something we've mastered. And I think we all have the view that there may be some people who are beyond being de-radicalised. Yes, of course.
For giving way, and does he feel that those who radicalise young people, who specifically try to put them on a path of destruction and terrorism, that those people should also feel the brunt of the law, and maybe a 14-year sentence or more should be what they should be getting?
I agree with him, and having spent my life pre-politics working with children and young people, this is child exploitation, the likes of which we see in a whole range of other fields, and there can't be many worse crimes than exploiting children in that way and radicalising them, taking advantage of vulnerabilities they have and setting them on this sort of path. A path that they might not often go on themselves, but that they encourage other people to go on. So I completely share his sentiment there. But the final thing I wanted to say was something about the police intelligence and security services. When we have an attack from someone that we've had on our lists, who's maybe been in custody and been released, there are veiled and not so veiled suggestions that those services have failed. And in one or two cases, I'm sure they would think they could do better. But I think they do an outstanding job all year round to thwart plots that we will never hear of. And they do it at great risk to themselves. And I think what we should do in this House as we are today is support legislation that helps them to keep us all safe.
Yeah, very good.